here to talk a little bit about love and code and what happens when the romance goes off the rails. I'm not 100% sure what that means, but at 3:41 Wednesday, I get a Twitter message from Graham McBain, who was just up here, the organizer of this event. And we should probably take a second to thank Graham, Alyssa, and Zach for all their hard work in pulling this together. Primarily because I know I don't want to organize an event, and I probably couldn't do it, and organizing, I think, in general, can be a pain in the rear. So before I start, I just want to say, please forgive my ADD. The Twitter message said, "Hey, Mark, what are you up to Friday? Want to at a software conf for 20 minutes? Speak wasn't in there, so I wasn't 100% sure what he wanted me to do at a software conf. But I messaged him back what time and my phone number. And here I am. Graham and I, as he just said, met over a weekend at the CU Hackfest last spring, where I was a judge and equally unqualified as I am to speak here today. But you know how sometimes you meet someone and you're like, damn, he has a good vibe and is interesting, and I like him. Would love to spend a little bit more time with him. That's what I thought about Graham, and that's why I'm here, and hold on to that notion for the next 18 minutes. And, oh no, there we go. What happened to my picture? This is true. The only thing that I know about Rails I read in my Encyclopedia Britannica last night. Does anybody even know what an Encyclopedia Britannica is? All right. Why I'm here, and what the fuck does another straight white male with an ego, a microphone, a big mouth, and a story have anything to do with Rails? I grew up in Miami, and Rails had a much different connotation among my peers. I'm Mark Gelband, and I truly know less than 1 and 0 about Ruby on the Rails or any kind of coding. I know when I showed up at college way back when, they had classes in BASIC and Fortran, and I was far more interested in poetry, partying, and satisfying my basest needs on Maslow's hierarchy. Self-esteem and self-actualization were nowhere in my vocabulary. I'm going to try and weave together 3 different and very important stories. How I got here today, right now, the course of a love relationship and why it matters, and how Rails, and more specifically, what each of you are doing with your coding skills and lives, can transform how we all work, live, and become better versions of who we are today. Here goes. Please be gentle. I got the call to speak 45 hours ago and have spent about 20 hours sleeping since then, and I will share more details personally later if you're interested. I've done a bunch of really cool things in my life, but I'm not sure if any of them amount to anything very meaningful. It's a fucking bummer to become 50 and still feel that. 2 years ago, I got shit canned from my safe and moderately fulfilling job. I had just got a raise and promotion 6 weeks before that. This book in this picture is the book of the first 100 pages of correspondence I made with my wife. We met online. She made that for me. She's here. I really appreciate her being here. So we wrote. This book is full of romance and represents the yearning, burning feeling inside you, so deep inside you. You know it, the romantic phase of any relationship. All right, audience participation. How many of you, when you were 10 years old, thought, I definitely want to be a coder when I grow up? How many of you right now are doing the job that you exactly want to be doing? Those of you who have your hand raised and look around are really, really lucky people, and you should know it. How many of you have left your own devices, might do your best work from midnight until 3 a.m. or from 5 a.m. till noon? How many of you are really, really satisfied with what you're doing right now. I am, as I speak about this, because it's really important to me. And how many of you are working for a company that treats you like a grown-up and you show up when you want to? All of you are really, really lucky. Sorry about this. It's the first time I'm really doing this. I really just wrote it. After getting fired, I focused on trying to finish building my family's home, Boulder's first shipping container home. In some ways, it's more than a home. It's a vanity art project. In some ways, a fuck you to the rich white quality of life, neighborhood character, pseudo-liberal BS around me. And I know I'm part of the problem too. Don't get me wrong. I know how relatively privileged I am. I think all of us are if we're sitting in a room having the time to do something like this. When I met my love, she lived in a crazy cool church and had it filled with amazing art and art projects and collections and clothes and shoes and stuff. Now I sometimes wonder how I can deal with all her stuff. What does that say? Thank you for inspiration, for smiles, for everyday distraction, for a new mantra. I will not let work or sleep get in the way. I will not let work or sleep get in the way. That's in that book of 100 pages. It's something I wrote to Courtney, and you know that feeling, right? It's like, that feels so good. It really meant something to me at the time. I had a lot of stuff when you met me. It's not like it was false advertising. From her perspective, I too have plenty of shit, emotional and otherwise. But we all choose where we're at, jobs, life, here. What happens after the illusion fades? What happens after the light in which we are seen and see disappears? You're the best kisser, you're the best lover, you're so handsome. You don't care about your things. Why are you wearing that sweatshirt I hate? Trim your beard, blah, blah, blah. This happens at work too. We have a ping pong table and climbing wall, lunches 3 times a week, on-site laundry, chair massages. Here's 80 grand fresh out of G school, junior coder. We want you. You're amazing. Be here at 8:30, 1 hour for lunch. Stay here 70 hours and meet this deadline. These are images from one of my favorite contemporary sculptors, Tom Puckey. His work is provocative and controversial. Yesterday, I got challenged by a woman I respect very deeply about the 2 other images I had chosen and originally put up here. Puckey's work directly questions the objectification of women and cultural norms around power, weapons, war, and body. The line, Armed and Relatively Dangerous, is the name of his latest show. And it's something I believe everyone in this audience needs to understand. It has meaning for anyone with an intellect and a faintest notion of emotional evolution. My son said to me recently, "You don't want to finish the house, Dad, because you won't know what to do." He's partially right. What I know is that I don't want to work with people I don't like, I don't trust, that I don't respect anymore. And that doing anything that isn't in some way helping make the world a better place for my grandchildren and your families. I know that's easier said than done, when there are mortgage payments, 2 teenagers going to college, good restaurants I want to eat at, whatever. In love, we begin to learn our partner in a way where we can accept, communicate, and grow, or stick a knife deep in that place where we know the other is most vulnerable. I'd say in most relationships, both are happening at any given time, even in the work you're doing. Which brings me back to us in this room. All of you are holding so much damned power. My friend Ara, who's here from Dojo 4, and he's really the coder in this relationship, he says sometimes we coders are carrying AK-47s. What we choose to do with that power is the story. This is a bit of a break, because I just needed one. My father's an old-time cigar smoker, and so I have at various times been fascinated by cigar culture. In Cuban cigar factories, the reader, that is the person who sat on a stage and read stories or read the newspaper to factory workers, was one of the most respected positions in the factory. Long before Sonos, podcasts, and deep house sets, The reader in the cigar factory did just that, read to workers for their entertainment to help make the relatively mundane somewhat more enjoyable, fulfilling. Gerald Lachlan, one of my early writing teachers, said if you can answer yes to these 3 questions, you've probably written something worthwhile. I'd say you've done something worthwhile with your code as well. The first question is always the hardest part. Do you know? If you can answer yes to the first 2 questions, someone cares, even if it's just your grandmother. I want to finish building my house myself, for my family, and my need to do something meaningful. I want to continue to work on love after romance and the most beautiful woman in the known universe. This requires me to rigorously look at my bullshit and be open to criticism and growth and change. I want to inspire all of you a little bit to think about what you're doing with the power of code and how if the conditions were ripe to respect you as a person, coming to a space you want to work at, an environment with employment practices that nurture your whole self and provide meaningful work that does something positive in the world, would you be interested? Is that a place you would want to go? I don't know, just raise your hand and show me. Thank you. Do you want your power? Anyway, sorry, that's a real question. You guys have written millions of lines of code. You're on a path of being a better person. You're here because you want to learn something, to be a better version of who you are right now. And now what? And this is really the question, and I've heard Era ask this question 1,000,001 times, and I love it. And I'm so glad this company got accepted to Techstars, and I'm sorry if you work for them and I'm offending you, or if you're here and you hear this. But do you really want your power to go to Drizzly so we can solve the liquor delivery problem? Or do you want to write code that helps transform our world? Seriously, that is a real question that I think we all need to grapple with. Here's a bit more of how I got here. I made a whimsical investment in Ello because I believe in an elevated conversation and beautiful content and data privacy. I realize that creatives and creative technologists hold a key to community that I want to live in and help create. I met Corey and Era from Dojo 4 5 months ago during Boulder Startup Week. I am fascinated by the idea of making purpose-driven work environments that build community and respect the whole person, a reality for myself and more of us. The real work of love happens after the romance dies, clearly. It's the hard shit. We can all dream it, but sometimes we'll need a therapist, a bike ride, a Red Bull, or a joint just to get through a moment. Yes. Thank you very much. Era and I recently went to Telluride to explore how these ideas might have a confluence with some work the Telluride Foundation has started for its community, and it's something that we're working on that we hope to let the entire development community know about very shortly. More accurately, though, I tagged along with Era and his family, his wife and his 2 kids, car camping along the way. It was a vulnerable situation for him and his family and me. We didn't know each other all that well, but we were both going with our gut. My wife was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Here's what I wrote about Dojo after we got back. Wandering off the street into Dojo 4 might feel like an alien encounter for a corporate suit. It may even feel that way to a 30-something.com executive who equates ping pong tables and climbing walls to progressive corporate culture. It may also just seem as if the tapping on keyboards, house music, writing code, and work are nothing more than early 22nd century business as usual. But something way more radically subversive are afoot in the small first-floor workspace in the cinder block building just north of Pearl Street on 17th. And I invite all of you to stop by there sometime. Professionals who generally care about what they do, their personal growth, their community of friends, families, and colleagues, their larger community, and the world work in an open environment that puts as much emphasis on meaningful practice, principles, personal development as it does on producing quality work that matters. Just typing this and saying it right now sounds like pie-in-the-sky bullshit in most contexts. Many companies talk this shit of culture and people and purpose, but few embrace it as part of their daily routine, and even fewer see it as a business necessity. Dojo 4 has begun fomenting a unique perspective of place, people, practice, and purpose as the business process for positive change and creating a better world. When I look at the house I am building, I see all of the work I have done, and my ego swells, and I am psyched about what I'm creating. When my love looks at our house, she may see a piece of this too, but she sees unfinished business, missed deadlines, timelines that have not matched reality, the loss of my word, a 7-year project that, as she has said, I don't think I would have signed up for if I knew then what I know now. Rigorous truth, people. Seriously. That is love after the romance. Thank you, Courtney. That's pain and truth and difficult. Coding after the romance is some version of, I'm tired of building bullshit stuff for bullshit companies run by dumbass motherfuckers who are only interested in their personal bottom line. All of us, me included, have a responsibility to lean into love after the romance and do the hard work together to move past the status quo. I don't have the answers, that's for damn sure, okay? I'm just a guy. If I were wearing a t-shirt with one of my many red flags, it might read, "Work in progress here, much too slowly for many people I love." Why am I here? Because I selfishly hope that I can be a small catalyst for the positive change that I want to see in our world. And I know that I have to tidy up my thumbs. That's what my Kung Fu teacher tells me. Tidy up my life as part of the process. I want to thank my family for tolerating my crap and Courtney for loving me enough to tell me and show me when I'm wrong and how I can be a better person. I also know that all of you have crazy power. One you might not even realize you have. And I want to encourage you, challenge you even, to use that power to build shit that matters. Thank you.